Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Let's Drone Out, possibly the best FPV podcast that's on right now.
What? Why possibly? Surely it is the best.
RC groups might be still on. I don't know whether they do that thing on a Thursday.
Yeah,
anyway,
but they're not very good.
Yeah, we have a treat especial. Today we are joined by Andrew / Frank.
Hello.
The reason why we're all here, Andrew RC.
What? I'm confused. I don't know who you mean. Me? Hello, everybody.
Your name's Andy RC. We've got Andy. Is it Andy Sims from
Andy Simmons?
Simmons. I'm very sorry from
I'll
the
forgive you.
BMFA.
Good evening, all.
And we've got Dave, whose surname escapes me. I'm sorry, Dave.
Phipps, but most people call me Phillips.
It's good to see the pre-show researchers.
Well, if it helps, he forgot my name, and I've known him for 2 years. Just a second ago.
How could you forget a surname like RC doing what we do?
Wow.
Yeah. I'm very bad at this.
Which is why I said possibly the best drone podcast.
Yeah. And I've got my head firmly up my ass. And I missed the BMFA last time. I wasn't there, so this is whole new territory to me. Even though
we don't appear to have fireworks this time either. I'm very disappointed in you.
What's up?
No fireworks this time.
I've got fireworks, man.
There'll be fireworks. Don't you worry about that. There's always fireworks.
I didn't think they were approved for BMFA use or BMFA goods, but
yeah.
If you're inside, you're fine.
If the BMFA want fireworks, I have a sparkler, and the sparkler is being lit.
No, it's not.
It's so windy.
Is it an Aldi sparkler by any chance?
This is to celebrate. You've had an anniversary recently, haven't you? Whee, BMFA.
We're heading that way.
Yep.
What was the anniversary?
I can't wait. Isn't it like
It's
a
2
million
years.
years of the
2 years time for the 100 years.
Yeah.
100 years.
3 years time. 2022.
2022.
Wow.
Soon. Very soon.
Planning ahead.
Yeah. So.
So about a month ago, we had Andy Simmons on, and we were talking all about BMFA affiliation of clubs and how the BMFA was supporting local groups start up, grow, get hold of sites, keep hold of sites, deal with councils and all that kind of thing. And we said at the end of that show it would be good to have Dave on, because you've been involved a lot more on the other side of things, which the BMFA do, which is the dealing with the authorities and legislation and all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And since then, there's been an awful lot happening. We've been inundated with calls to action. And so
I can't wait to spend my money on £16.50 than fireworks.
This is the thing, is that so there was this announcement by the CAA about a bit more detail about the registration process that's legislated to be coming in November. So start in October and be required in November.
Yeah.
And the big takeaway that everyone took away from it seems, according to Facebook, is that £16.50. But from what I've seen, there's a lot more to it, because it combined, you've met up with the other UK model aircraft associations, so FPV UK,
yes,
LMA, and
Scottish Aero Modelers Association.
Thank you very much. And had a big get together because you saw quite a few other problems with what was suggested and the process generally, from what I could tell.
Yeah.
Would you mind kind of going through with us a bit what kind of the headline issues there are?
Yeah, I mean, the issue for us was that we were in negotiation with the CAA and DFT for a good part of the last 3 years. And last November, we were still in negotiation with them. We thought it was ongoing negotiations, but in January this year, they published their response to the 2018 drone consultation, which also said that they're ongoing discussions with us. But at that point, they weren't. And then in March, they introduced the changes with the flight restriction zones and so on, which they only gave us 3 weeks' notice. And then more recently, they published CAP 1775, which is purely a consultation on how much they're going to charge for the registration scheme. But within the text of the document, it did reveal that they'd already decided what the policy was going to be without further discussion. So that included things like age restrictions, competency requirements, and the registration scheme itself, all of which we're strongly opposed to.
I've got my registration number already.
Yeah. Is it
You've
in
not sent me your £16.50 yet.
Yep,
This is going to be your personalised registration.
T0NY1SGAY.
Yeah. Well, it's certainly readable from a metre away, so you're fine.
I think we just found out why Tony didn't want to come on the show. Somebody must have tipped him off.
I'm well up for a personalised registration.
That's interesting then. So this £16.50 thing is not set in stone, and you guys say you're dead against it. Can you sort of elaborate on why that is? Is it because you know it may put people off? I mean, you know, it may put people off going down the BMFA route, because you guys for years have had competency systems that aren't like some clubs will say, yeah, it's necessary to have an A certificate or B certificate to fly solo. But it's not a necessity. It's kind of become a standard. And then they're saying, oh, well, we've got this separate standard, which kind of like if you're a BMFA, if you're like a BMFA member, you're already sort of saying that I'm serious about this hobby. I'm serious about safety. Therefore, if I've got to pay another £16, then that's not fair. Is that the answer?
Yeah, I mean, I think the issue was that, you know, we've spent the last 3 years negotiating with EASA on the European regulations, and what we agreed with them was that, you know, model flying would be essentially outside of the EASA regulations. It would continue as it does under national regulation. We could register members on their behalf into the system, so there was no need to enter a separate parallel system. But I think the issue was that the government tried to guess what the EASA regulations would say, but a year before they were actually finished, and they got it wrong.
Because a big part of the EASA registration kind of model, they've kind of put out this template of what they think it should be, and a big part of that is saying you can give your local national associations the kind of powers. You can kind of delegate off to them
for model flying.
Exactly, for model flying.
Well, it's not just model flying, it's model flying conducted within the framework of an association and club. It's essentially, it's model flying conducted within the framework of an association. The club bit is just a different way that the Europeans describe an association, essentially.
Yeah, and what
so in terms of the £16.50, you know, I think the issue for us was it wasn't just the money; it was the fact that the CAA and the government were wanting our members to register in a parallel system. And any additional hurdles and hoops you put in front of people, you're going to get people that don't jump through them. And model flying, by its nature, has always had a very low threshold for entry. It's always been very easy for people to participate, and anything that discourages them is going to be a detriment to all of us.
It was in France.
Say again?
It was in France.
Yeah. Yes, I mean, yes, there's been a reduction, certainly in participation in France, and that's even with it being free.
Wow, that's not good news. Oh, I didn't realize that then. So they brought registration in France and it was free, and it sort of put people off. That's
Yeah.
The crazy thing is, it's not even. It's not even. It's like we're being affected, but it's targeting. I was talking to Jack on the phone before the show, and it's, the issue is not the hobby world. The issue is the person that can go into the Apple store, go into Argos and buy a Phantom and just take off.
Yeah.
It's those that, and then it seems like we're all having to suffer. So what is the what can we do? Is there anything that we can do at this point? Is this the £16.50 thing is just a it's just like a placeholder? It's not, despite what is all over the media, it's not set in stone. Is there anything that we can do?
Yeah, I mean, I think the important thing to do is to respond to the CAP 1775 consultation. I mean, I think they've had a huge response to it. I think they've had at least 10,000 responses so far. Also, in terms of CAP 1775, it was only a consultation on the level of fees. So it didn't give people an opportunity to comment on the other issues, like the age restrictions and like the competency requirements. And that's why we encourage people to embark on this letter writing campaign to voice the concerns about the other aspects not part of the fee consultation. So, I mean, that's proved quite useful. It's put pressure on the Department for Transport and the CAA. It's managed to get them all back around the table and talking to us. And the response has been so big that certainly the CAA have had to employ somebody just to deal with the responses.
Right. So we still don't have anything set in stone that this is the way that it's going to be when it comes to November or whatever with the fee.
I suspect it will be quite different. I mean, I think the issue is that they've come up with some estimates based on experience in the US and in Ireland, but experience from 2 or 3 years back when the sales of recreational camera drones were probably significantly more than they are now. So I think their prediction of 170,000 operators is a little bit over the top. I mean, last year, my estimate to them was that they would get the model flyers plus maybe the same number again. And certainly the work we've done recently with the trade would suggest that, that's a more likely estimate than the numbers they're working to.
Because the proposal as well, it isn't just drones, it's anything now, isn't it?
All unmanned aircraft, yeah.
Yeah, which is just, and because a lot of this is sort of like online, and it makes me wonder, that there's a generation that might not even be aware that this proposal has come in, because they might not be a BMFA affiliated club, they might not have the internet, they might be breaking the law and not even know it. And
quite likely,
and that doesn't seem fair somehow when they've been acting in this way for 50 years or so. It's just doesn't quite sit.
And it's only going to be a tax on people that would always operate lawfully anyway. So if you're dropping contraband into Wormwood Scrubs, you're not going to be registering or taking a competency test.
You're certainly not going to stop doing it on the basis you forgot to register yet. So you think I'll not deliver these drugs today because I haven't registered yet.
Yes, exactly. I mean, we share the same thing, and I'm in like a local club that does we do sort of tiny whoops, and fixed wing, and the majority of the fixed wing guys were like, oh, this affects us, really? What? We've been doing this forever. And it's like, why now? Why change,
You might as well have, like, sorry, I was kind of saying this for a laugh. You might as well have a sex offender test, and then they show you pictures and like, do you find children attractive? No. Do you feel the urge to rape? No. pass that competency test, and then still pay £16.50 to put the wrong ones on the list.
I don't think it's quite like that, Jack.
It feels like it.
I was trying to. I said, okay, if this £16.50 thing comes in, I'll pay it, because there are other hobbies where you have to pay to to do
And they were all cheaper except salmon fishing. They were. Owning a shotgun, cheaper.
As I think you've got to bear in mind, or ask the question, what do we get for our £16.50?
Nothing.
Yeah.
The CIA get coke and whores.
Yeah, if you've got say,
What happens?
if you've got a fishing license, you get something back for your money. You get the river stocked and maintained. We're getting absolutely nothing for £16.50.
No, your door kicked in when someone sees a plastic bag floating around Gatwick, and you get put in custody for 36 hours. And then
because the police just work their way down the list of registered people in the area and go and knock on all the doors.
Yeah, it's like a Christmas list, isn't it?
The other side is, if this is the registration is meant to be a proxy for, are you competent? Are you meant to be flying? And if the test is the police go up to you and they go, are you registered? And you say, yes, I am. Does that mean that they're going to be perfectly fine with you flying something over Wormwood Scrubs? Or it's not. They've got to still know what's right and what's wrong. So it doesn't actually change.
Myself and Dave had a little bit of a chat earlier, and it was something we were talking about, is, potentially you'll have people, they'll go on, do the registration, they complete this online competency test, and then they'll consider themselves safe, when perhaps all they'll have is some knowledge of what the regulations are.
Yeah.
So it does need, whatever they come up with, the final sort of iteration of it, does need to make sure that everybody who has done the test is aware that they still perhaps need a lot more knowledge before they start going out and operating.
Yeah, so, I mean, one of our big arguments is that it's completely disproportionate for the risk of the activity. So, I could go out tomorrow, strap myself to a 70-kilo foot launch paramotor and take off into the air with no registration, no testing or anything. So asking model flyers and drone pilots to take a test every 3 years is completely out of proportion to anything else.
Yeah, it's like they're trying to find a problem to a solution to a problem that doesn't exist yet.
Yeah,
it's like when airline pilots before drones or model aircraft, they would say, "Oh, I've seen a UFO," but now because drones exist, they're like, "It was a drone," and that seems to be the thing that's coming up. But what we all want to know, though, is, are you guys? Do you think that you can come up with an agreement for this for BMFA members, or do BMFA members and model flyers need to act as well as you guys?
We need everybody to act, because it's strength in number.
And how can we do that?
So we've put some stuff on the BMFA website with the call to action. So emails and letters to the aviation minister, emails and letters to the CAA, and what is particularly useful is emails and letters to your MP. Now, obviously, a lot of these things receive fairly standard responses. Certainly, in terms of responses that MPs have been sending, we've challenged quite a number of them on the basis that they've been sending a standard template that they've got from the DFT. Yet they say that they won't respond to template letters from their constituents. So we've gone back to them and said, you won't accept a template letter from your constituent. Why are you sending them a template response? And there's quite a few that we've managed to engage in ongoing dialogue, and that's quite useful. And they in turn raise questions directly with the Secretary of State or the Aviation Minister, and that helps keep the pressure on.
Yeah, no, so it's a really difficult one, isn't it? I mean, I suppose in the scheme of things, for them, what's going on politically at the moment, this just isn't important for them. They're like, oh no, we've got this. we've come up with a figure, and it's like, yeah,
they certainly not forget us. I mean, the other thing is, you know, at present, one of the things that we're looking at is the possibility of the associations registering as operators. So the 4 UK associations would pay the CAA £66 per year, rather than our members paying them 660,000 per year. And that's something that the CAA are exploring at present.
Yeah, whatever.
What was that? Sorry.
So we would register as the operator, and our members would be our remote pilots, and that would remove the age restrictions. All that members would be required to do would be to take the free test every 3 years.
What was that? Because what was that about the age restriction thing? Because I've been doing this since I was like 10 years old or whatever, and you know, I was training people at the age of 12, adults.
So this is one of the frustrations. I mean, with the EASA regulations, if you're operating in the open category, they've set the age at 16, but member states can drop it down to 12 for the operator. The UK government based their regulations on what the EASA regulations said a year ago, and at that time they said 18. So they've got that slightly wrong. But in terms of the remote pilot, there is no age restriction. So that might be the way forward for us. I mean, the other thing is, you know, in the EASA regulations, within the authorization that we should get in a year's time, that doesn't specify the age limit. That's down to us to negotiate with the Civil Aviation Authority, and it doesn't have to be the same as it is in the general law.
Yeah, I think as a BMFA member myself, and I have been for many years, I think that's what I was hoping that would happen with this is that, you know, being part of the organization, that would sort of not waiver but cover this whole mess that's happening.
And that's what, you know, that's what our objective was, and that's what we're still working towards.
Well, that's really good to hear, and hopefully that is the outcome.
And not just us, but, you know, we're working in close collaboration with the other associations.
Yeah, because one of the things that I hear is, you know, oh, well, if we have to pay the £16.50, then, you know, what am I getting? Obviously, you get the insurance thing from the BMFA, but I think people, you know, I mean, I'm prepared to, if it turns out that it's £16.50, I'm like, it's a hobby. I'm prepared to pay that, but it like you say, there are many people that won't. So, you know, it's good to hear that is still at this time an option, because I thought that at this point it was sort of out, and it was kind of like, no, you're going to have to pay your BMFA bill and then this extra £16.50.
No, and anyone that's written to the CAA will have had a response which does say that this is an option, that we could be an operator,
right,
as remote pilots. So it's something that they have offered themselves.
That's good to hear, because obviously, you know, the BMFA, the reason to, you know, for me anyways, is to be a member is for the insurance purpose as well. So, you know, that'd be just another reason for everybody to sort of get that, because I think it's always good to have insurance. And
yeah, I mean, our hope was that you know, the registration would be something that we could incorporate as a membership benefit, so people would join and wouldn't have to do anything else. That was our objective at the outset.
How would that work? Because they're talking about having to have your registration number written on your model. So if you were the operator, would we all have this same registration? Or
well, you would all have the same operator number, which sort of renders it fairly pointless, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, exactly. Yeah, because they find a model and it's got the BMFA's registration number.
They'll just ring me up.
They'll ring you up and you'll go, I don't know. It's
yeah. Basically, yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Oh, well, it's good to know that, you know, that these, because we don't hear this, you know, we just hear that we got to pay £60.50 and that's it. And so
no, I mean, I think one thing that is fairly certain is that you'll not be paying £16.50.
Well, that's encouraging to know. That is really cool. Yeah, so it's a good but it's not finalized. So do you guys know when? I mean, it's great you guys came. Was it April that you came on last, or was it before? It might have been before.
I think it was about April, wasn't it?
It'd be great. So as things progress, then it'd be great for you guys to come back and just like
that's fine. I mean, we're working towards the November deadline because that's when the changes to the law that were made last year come fully into effect. So that's when you've got the competency requirements and the registration requirements.
Yeah.
So that's what we're working towards.
Because this £16.50 thing, the last time you were on wasn't a thing. So now, like, this is the thing that you're addressing, and then you guys can come on and then say, hopefully, give us an update of what the progress of that is, and hopefully it's positive.
Yeah, I mean, what the discussion that we had yesterday with the CAA, all they can really do is work within the very tight constraints that the government have defined in the policy. So to get any significant change, it's got to come from the government level. So we've got a meeting with the aviation minister next week. We'll see where we get to with her.
Awesome. That's great to hear what you guys are. What you're getting up to. Are you going to have time to be at Western Park in 2 weeks' time?
I might be either delivering stuff or collecting stuff, but I don't think I'll be there for the whole weekend.
I'm not going to be there this year. I'm going on holiday.
Isn't Western Park not a holiday?
When you consider how many weekends we end up doing.
I am actually working that weekend, but not at Western Park.
Oh, right, fair enough. Andy, are we going Western Park? No, and Andrew / Frank. Are we going Western?
Yes.
We're going I'm going to Western Park no matter what on the Saturday. What are your guys' plans?
We do have an Airbnb booked, so we'll be coming up on the Friday. Me and Jack and maybe 1 or 2 other people.
Tony, please come, because my friend Phil wants to meet you, wants to give you some fireworks. So if that's not a reason to come up, then I don't know what is.
We hope you're all going to be joining us at the Nationals in August, of course.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, do you know I've never been to the Nationals.
Well, I know you should be there. We've got a World Cup event for the drone racing this year.
Wow. Yeah.
Drone racing is back there. We had them there a couple of years ago, so we'll expect you there broadcasting.
What's the date of the? Did you say broadcasting?
Absolutely.
That sounds like a challenge. We did that at Mini Air Show, and it was a lot of fun.
The gauntlet is thrown. Well, I'm hoping to be at your Mini Air Show next year.
That'd be good.
Well, that'd be good. Although, I apologize for the podcast part because it gets a bit out of control.
Sorry about that. I went for a quick wank.
There you go. You see,
it was the angriest. £16.50.
You didn't hear, Jack. They're trying hard so that if you.
No, I did. I was listening. Listening. Yep, and apparently we all get the same registration number.
Yeah. So you've just spent a fortune on. Did I hear it? Did I hear that your registration number's reflective as well, Jack? I've heard a rumor.
Yeah, retro-reflective, so it lights.
Perhaps what we could do, now we've got the BMFA here, is maybe, you could propose the registration number as being that. I'm sure Tony would really appreciate.
The BMFA would get a very healthy donation from me. That was the very, very, but I might even lifelong memberships.
Can you imagine getting your BMFA news through the post and it's saying, this is what you have to write on the side of your file?
We'll send everybody a sticker.
Yeah.
One thing that does seem to fall down is that you know, the online competency test. Who
Yeah.
says that it's definitely you taking it? And the other thing is I wasn't going to register, and then Curry Kitten turned around and said, "Well, I know all your details. I'm going to register for you."
Yeah.
So, like, I can't win. I'm like,
Jack so wants to get out of the hobby because he's so angry about this thing.
oh God,
But we all
it's just a fun tax. It is a fun. We are literally paying Gatwick back and letting the CAA. Like, I've met one of the guys in CAA. He seems all right, but like, yeah, they're gonna have their Christmas party. It's, oh my God, it's gonna be like,
they're not going to be able to afford a Christmas party because they're not going to pull in enough money to cover the
That's
cost
true.
of doing this.
oh,
So
God.
they'll be joining you at yours for your Christmas party.
Yeah, I think the problem was that it's not really a money-making venture for the CA. Someone's going to be making a lot of money out of it.
I mean, who did
but it's the operating costs.
Sorry, I'm so sorry.
2.8 million just to run it each year.
Yeah, because
Oh
when we
my-
had Jonathan on from the CAA, he was very much then saying, "We don't want it. It's a stupid idea."
He
But
did say that, didn't he? He sort of said he agreed that it was just really the DJI crowd, I think is how he sort of
yeah.
called it. But we all get but then it becomes multi-rotor and we all get put into the same box.
Well, then
and
it
it's not
becomes
that.
unmanned aircraft, and we all
Yeah.
get drawn in. Everything.
Yeah, can't they just have it like at Argos and Dixon's? Right, here's your sticker. There you go. And it's like everybody. Because the other thing as well is like, you know, these are custom things that we're building. They change, they evolve, they have a different motor. They have, you know, that they never stay the same. They could be 250 grams one day. You put a camera on it, it's 300 grams. You know, it's like.
Yeah.
It's just too.
Two things that I'm really not looking forward to, right, is A, you know, like 250 grams is going to be exempt. Police aren't going to carry scales, and they're just going to be.
We did raise this with the CA yesterday.
All they're going to do is seize your things to be like, we need to check it, we need to weigh it, and then they're probably going to pass it over to Ofcom. And, you know, like, you're not going to get your stuff back for a while.
What did the CA? Sorry to interrupt, Jack. What was the CAA's response to that?
There probably wasn't.
Oh, there wasn't. Yeah.
No, it was just a shrug.
Yeah. You see, there are loads of tricks that we could do to get if we wanted to. You know, there's pit mode, for example. So you know, you plug the quadcopter in and it runs at 25 milliwatt until you arm it, then it blasts out a watt. You know, so if you had all your stuff seized, they wouldn't have a clue what they were looking at or anything like that. You know, it's
where to plug the battery in.
They're probably they're probably going to just employ the same person that's reading the CAA letter response form, a giant shredder, and they're just going to put your things in there. Lost in processing.
Somebody raised a question to me at my local group, and they said, how can 250 grams include the fuel? In other words, the battery, whether it's a battery or whether it's nitro or petrol, because that changes for certain models. You know, you could take off above 250 grams but land below it, and
it's always been the principle that it's the weight is unfueled.
Unfueled.
Unfueled. Now, with a battery, that the battery you've got to consider as the tank, the fuel tank.
Yeah.
So the batteries have to be included, but you know, whether the battery's charged or discharged doesn't matter. But the battery's got to be included in the all-up weight. But if it's petrol powered or glow fuel, the tank can be empty.
That doesn't seem fair then, because
few things in life are fair.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, you're not going to crash it. Oh, it's empty. Now I'm going to crash it into
to be
someone's
fair,
face.
if it's empty, you are going to crash it into something.
Yeah, true.
Okay, so we need to figure out how to do nitro.
Can you imagine the police, right, emptying nitro fuel out? Do you know what I mean? So we can weigh it. be like catching kids with alcohol. We're just going to pour this substance. Like,
I don't think that's going to be an issue, because anything that's using either petrol or glow fuel is going to be over 250 grams.
yeah, I just,
Yeah, tiny,
So,
tiny engine.
And also,
But-
what are the odds of the police turning up?
Well,
Yeah.
there is that as well.
Well,
I mean,
are there more odds when this comes into place?
Mm.
This is like at the moment, you know, I'm flying in a field. You see a police car drive past and it doesn't stop. But then this registration things comes in, and then they're like, right, okay, so it's now our duty to check, and it's like,
Well, I think the National Police Chiefs Council, or whatever it was, said it wasn't going to be a high priority.
Yeah.
Unless you're flying outside Gatwick, maybe.
but like,
then they're going to check your registration, are they?
Yeah.
yeah,
even
then-
though there was no drone at Gatwick.
Yeah.
but they got a chance to win £1,000 and unlimited time in jail. You know, like, there's a lot at stake in there for them.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I can kill Tony, which sometimes I feel like doing, right? And I only get it like 8 years. If, you know, if I'm lucky. Like, that's mental, isn't it? That is, goddamn. I can molest Andy RC and get put on a list for free. I don't have to pay £16.50.
Already happened.
I'm going to say he just seems to have an unhealthy fascination with going on various lists, doesn't he?
Yeah.
No, I just think it's ludicrous.
He has been accused of. I said though, you know, like I try and think of it, but I try and, because like I'm a reviewer, I try and, you know, see both sides of it and stuff. And I'm like, Jack, if you want to drive, you have to have a driving license. You have to
Yeah,
pay
but I get
tax on
something
that.
out of that.
You'd have to pay for it every year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you get something out of that. So you're saying you don't get anything out of the hobby then? You get nothing. No joy, no happiness, no, it doesn't relieve
No, it
your
just sticks me on a
anxiety.
podcast with the BMFA, whose names I can't get right. And they think I'm an idiot. Well, no, I mean, the thing is,
You get something out of it. You met me, and it's the
Yeah.
greatest thing that's ever happened to you.
but like, yeah, it like my driving license lasts for 10 years. Do you know what
Yeah,
I mean?
but
I'm not-
your insurance is God
yeah,
knows
but no,
what.
I can hold a license and not.
You're still on a list, Jack.
Yeah,
You're still
true.
on a- you're still on a
Still
list.
the DVLA list, and it's in Swansea as well.
Have you got one of those things that you spray on your number plate that makes it invisible to police or
Speed
whatever?
cameras.
What do you know about it?
I've seen your car.
I'm still trying to work out who actually wants the registration to happen, because the pilots don't want it to happen, the associations don't want it to happen. From when we were speaking to the CAA, they're not interested in making this happen. So is it the DFT, or is it
It's
just
politicians that have to be seen to be doing something.
Yeah, I mean,
Theresa May.
ultimately, it comes from the European regulations, that the basic regulation for aviation. That's where it specifies that operators have to be registered, and all the European laws and the UK laws all stem from that.
Interesting? That's new.
Yeah, because I
I've
think
heard that.
I think at first when you know, all of the drones have always been seen as negative, and then now when you see these news stories about drones, it's mostly all people defending drones, we found, and it's like the public actually.
Well, I think the important thing with the European regulations is that it was never really solely about safety and security and about regulating recreational operators. The main motivation for it was to create a framework to exploit the commercial potential throughout Europe.
Yeah.
So
Very
this
true.
is
It's about encouraging industry and innovation. It's not about us guys.
So this
Which-
is getting onto the use space and that side of things that's been happening, where there's being altitude sort of layers being set aside for commercial use. Is that what you mean?
That's part of it. I mean, to fully exploit the commercial potential, they've got to create a space for them to fly in. And the difficulty is there's lots of things in the air which would be invisible to a drone that's flying beyond line of sight. So your guy on the paraglider, or your guy in the glider, or the hot air balloon.
How are they? What are they going to do with those? Because I mean, at the moment, the paramotors, they're not registered or licensed or anything.
No. I mean, ultimately, the only way that they can fully integrate unmanned aircraft into the airspace is to make everything conspicuous electronically.
Yeah, so the electronic conspicuity. So this is the ADSB and that sort of thing, where there's a little transponder that pings out where it is and who it is and what it's doing and where it's going and that sort of thing.
Essentially, but I think that's going to be some years until it's fully deployed, because there's lots of resistance from other airspace groups like the glider pilots, and I mean the balloonists argue, why do they need anything if they can't be seen? Then it's a big problem. But obviously, it will be invisible to an unmanned aircraft.
I see what you mean. Yeah, if you can't spot a balloon, you're going to have problems using the airspace.
I wondered about balloons. Do balloons have to register like not an NDA?
They have a G code.
They have a G registration.
Do they have to register for like a NOTAM or something though for a flight?
Well, they don't know where they'll end up.
No, they don't. Yeah, no, because I noticed that when the red arrows fly in formation to different places, they issue a NOTAM because they fly. Yeah. Well, I think they fly at 500 feet still, but they still issue a NOTAM. And I thought, I wonder if balloons and stuff like that have to do. No, but they don't.
No.
That's crazy. Whereas if we wanted to do that, we'd have to. And it's just a little tiny drone thing that can hurt anything.
I think the difference is with those sort of paragliders and balloonists is if they do fly into Gatwick's airspace and they do crash into an airplane, then Darwin and all that. I think they pay their £16.50 once with their life.
But you say that everyone else's microlights and hang gliders quite regularly infringe on controlled airspace. On the this is.
They also have a lot less regulation on them than what's proposed for operators of small unmanned aircraft.
Can you buy them in Argos?
Jack's gonna get a big balloon.
Buy them on eBay and Facebook.
Tents in Argos.
Yeah.
But
I love Frank.
But you could get one of these. You could fly. I mean, you're probably not going to do well if you try on your own. But with the vast majority of anything that we fly, if you just bought one off the shelf and just tried to fly it, you're probably going to have a bad experience.
Didn't stop me with FPV.
Well, exactly.
I think it's certainly a lot easier than it was 20 years ago, though. To be fair, you can, like as I was saying, you can walk into wherever you buy DJIs these days.
To say Pizza Hut.
I was going to say PC World, but it's Curry's, and I don't know if I haven't been into a shop for about 5 years, so I don't know if
he doesn't have shops.
The last shop I went into was Maplin, and they sold all sorts of drones, but they've gone. So I'm like, I think the Apple store now and Dixon's and stuff like that, maybe. Curry's.
I wonder if Argos have to pay £16.50. They own the drones.
This is what I'm saying. They should do. They should have to.
Competency
but
test.
if you fly a microlight through controlled airspace and cause an airport to shut down for a bit while they wait for you to get out of the way and tell you off, that doesn't hit national news and that doesn't cause outrage and all that kind of thing. But I think that's just kind of.
Yeah, but there's no fear in it. You can see that's a person.
They're saying if you do that, has that actually happened?
Yes.
There's lots of infringements between other GA and commercial air traffic each year.
Yeah, they do. There are quite often, like you don't see them in the news so much. You might see them in local news, and you might see them in the CAA, the AirProx reports and things like that. But there are quite a few reports of microlights and things going where they shouldn't and being told off for it. But I guess the other thing is traceability, is that you can kind of see the guy who's flying that is there.
Yeah. Jeffrey, you silly twat. Not over here. Sorry to any microlight users.
Called Jeffrey.
Jeffrey, and our editor who has to cut that out.
Clive FPV says no, Google/Amazon wants that space. Is that true? Is that actually a thing?
Yeah, man. Like Theresa May's like a lizard robot. Sorry, someone has to be Tony right about now. Is a lizard robot, and she's controlled by Google/Amazon.
Well, Amazon are using fields around Cambridge to test out autonomous and the sort of technology that would be running beyond visual line of sight. And as we had at last year's mini air show, you know, there are plenty of people working on systems that are capable of doing autonomous flight beyond visual line of sight fairly reliably, but currently being done with a dead man switch, you know, from basically kind of having a buddy box, but giving the buddy box to a computer and getting it to do it that way, so that you can take manual control. But the technology is being developed fairly extensively, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's doable. Whether it's economically viable, I don't know yet. But
is this the drive for all of this?
Yeah.
You know, it is. This is the drive for why we're being so heavily regulated against.
As I say,
microlights.
I mean, as I say, that you know, the European regulations were never really aimed at us guys. It was all about creating a regulatory framework for commercial operations throughout Europe.
And we're just caught up in it.
Because if Doris don't get her Amazon Fire Stick in under 20 minutes, she is gonna throw cat shit at you. Like, you don't want Doris, who stinks of cat wee and rich tea biscuits, you know, going into a shop.
To be fair, though, as a reviewer, if I need a 6S LiPo in 30 seconds, I'd hit that button. I'd give it a go.
the funny thing is, I bet model shops pay more tax than Amazon do collectively.
Collectively, possibly, yeah.
Yeah, probably.
I mean, we will. £16.50. Oh my word! XJet is here.
Are you kidding me?
Oh my god! Woo!
Bruce!
I thought you hated us silly twats and would never show your face here. Holy crap! It's
the BMFA, and I don't know if you guys know about Bruce Simpson, but he does a lot of.
Yes, we do.
He does a lot of topical stuff regarding all around the world, the regulations. So that's XJet. That's Bruce. Man.
I loved your build on the ZMR. You taught me a lot of things. I even made my own antenna. I mean, it looked a bit shit.
We're all gonna geek out now. We're all gonna geek out now. Bruce, you're the reason why my channel exists. Andy, go.
Bruce, don't tell me you love us, man. My erection can only get so big.
We want Bruce. We want you to come on this show and talk. But he's based in. I nearly said Australia. Then he's based in Tokoro. Tokoro in New Zealand. Who was it who we had on? And I got in a lot of trouble for that. Because I said no. We all know a lot about Bruce. Tokoro, New Zealand, legend in the hobby. Yeah, that's so cool. Cool to see him in the chat.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, look, check out the chat's going crazy now. Love you guys.
I didn't even know we existed. I thought we were like a thorn in his ass.
Oh no, you know, he knows me and NJ exist because he mentioned us in a video. We had this little nerd out like session together where it's like, Bruce mentioned us in a video.
I feel like a schoolgirl now.
Yeah.
To dangerously drag you away from this, I think just as we've got lots of people in the chat, we should just quickly go back over the calls for action that the BMFA and the other UK model flying associations have been putting out. So the biggest thing is to go to the consultation on the drone registration finance thing, and all these links are in the description here.
I'm just chucking a few, if it'll take them on there now for you.
Thank you.
Also, I think Bruce should do a full analysis of our podcast and put it on his channel about what you guys have said about what you're doing for the BMFA. It's not always clear, you know. And I think it's great for you guys to come on and sort of clear up some of the stuff. You guys are clearly working as hard as you possibly can to, you know, sort out this registration thing, so that, you know, serious hobbyists are not paying like a forfeit. Just
I think the amount of work, especially that Dave's done in this past few weeks, is incredible, to be honest. But over the past few years, he's spent a huge amount of time over in Germany and various. In fact, he spent so much time in Germany now. He leaves a towel on his chair whenever he leaves the desk. You know, and when the CEA made this announcement a couple of weeks ago, Dave was being very naughty and having a short family break, which was cut short, obviously. And I think he spent the whole weekend dealing with various issues.
Yeah, thank you very much for your dedication to the hobby there.
Yes.
It can't have been easy trying to bring these up.
Well, I think the big thing is certainly myself, Dave, and Manny Williamson, our development officer, are all sort of model aircraft flyers in various guises. You know, we've all got multi-rotors and various fixed-wing aircraft. You know, so we are, while we work very hard for the BMFA, it's our hobby and our passion as well.
Of course.
And of course, the most important thing is that you guys pay our mortgages. So, you know, we have to work hard for you.
I'm right with that. I'm just like sick of, you know, being like everyone looking at me like I'm a goddamn terrorist FPV.
Well,
hooligan.
Jack, have you responded to the consultation?
Yes.
More
Good.
to the point, have you shaved your beard off?
Spelling.
So,
Jack,
step one is...
I think you should also, though, show them what you showed me about what you wrote on that.
No, you shouldn't show this. You shouldn't show this.
He said something about blaming Tony for Gatwick, and he got an X-class hidden under his van or something.
So whenever anyone goes, Gatwick, it wasn't you, was it? And I'm like, no, it was this guy called Tony Hodgson. He lives in.
It's his address.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if the BMFA guys know, but Tony, who is a regular on the show, when the whole Gatwick thing happened, he's a what's he call it? A window hygienist.
Glazing hygienist.
Glazing hygienist. Which is southern for window cleaner. Anyways, he stood on the when all this Gatwick stuff was happening. He stood on the top of his van at the end of the runway with a pair of FPV goggles, and for some reason the media thought that looked suspicious. So yeah, but no, he was just trying to see if he could see anything. You know, that's all he was doing.
There was no drone there. It's just mass hysteria. There is as much chance of finding like Tony with a wife in the next year.
Tony's got a very good chance of having a wife, which is probably why he's not here now.
I've got a bagel on it, so there we go.
Yeah, yeah, you've got bagel and pregnancy bagel as well. So I went to the shop and I was like, yeah, my boyfriend Tony, he's coming out. We're gonna fly this over. No.
Wow.
Oh.
Excellent. Anyway, dragging this once again towards vaguely discussing what we were discussing. The calls for action. So, responding to the CAA's consultation on the cost of drone registration is the first thing. The second thing is contacting your local MP and the CAA and the
aviation minister.
The aviation minister.
Yeah.
And these links are in one of the posts I've put in the description, and letting them know that you don't think any of this is quite right.
And then when you receive responses that you're not happy with, to then go back through the CAA or DFT complaints process.
And if anybody's getting the standard response from their MP, let us know, because we have a response for those MPs, which is generating some feedback. I think we've had a couple of MPs prodded into action after their initial standard response.
And how can those guys let you know? Just have you got your
email us? Yeah,
just email. You can email into me, Andy@bmfa.org, and we'll make sure that send a copy of what the MPs have sent you, and then we will contact the MP and obviously copy you in as well. And it's forcing them to do so it's important. And if anybody pops to the BMFA website, we've got regular updates on the battle being put on there. There's one that's gone on today. If you subscribe to the news feed, you'll get all the updates as and when there's news to report.
Yeah, it's just how many people are going to be willing to do all of this,
I'd say that the CAA have had to employ someone to deal with the responses that they've been receiving. So it's been quite significant.
So people are reacting then, because
we've received a lot of copies, and one thing that's evident in most of them is the level of passion people have for flying model aircraft and drones, but also how angry they are, and it's very good that gets conveyed to the government and the CAA.
That's good. That's good news then, because the first thing I think when I see all this is, oh man, it's so much work for something that's meant to be fun,
Yeah,
it really does kill it.
It is worth putting that effort in to protect, what we do and what we love doing. The effort is required, which is why we've stayed away from online petitions, which the politicians love. It's all they've got to do once everybody's done it is press a button and everybody gets a standard response. So, in some respects, they're counterproductive. They make people think they've done something by signing it, and then they don't do anything else. So the politicians love them. They're very easy to deal with.
If any of the issues in this show have made you at all angry, you're much better off just writing emails to people. It doesn't have to be War and Peace either. You can just say what you think in 5 words, and that's fine.
People often write me emails saying that I'm a dickhead. That achieves something.
There you go. Put that effort.
I think it is worth pointing out that when you are writing to the CA and MPs,
don't write you're a dickhead.
Don't do that.
Yeah,
it will be ignored. Most of them know it anyway, so they will be ignored. You've got to be civil. You've got to be reasonable in what you're sending them. Otherwise, you're definitely not going to get a response.
We've just had a message from Bruce. It says, "I'm about to try and organise the biggest RC event in history of the planet. The goal is to restore the reputation and image of the hobby in the hearts and minds of the public." Wow, that's a big.
What's he going to do? Have a bonfire consisting of DJI?
I think, yeah, he would love that. I think.
He also requested, Andy, will you email him? He's got a plan.
Really?
No, not you, Andy.
Oh,
I
not
didn't say
me.
Andy RC. I just said Andy.
Oh, I got all excited.
I didn't say Andrew/Frank.
I got all fanboy then. There you go.
No, he doesn't care about us and our show. We're idiots.
Well, if you have enjoyed this show or it has struck a chord, please also do drop us a like on the video or the podcast, depending on how you're consuming this media. Hit subscribe and things and do all the likey stuff. But yes, if you want to contact the BMFA, and as Andy has said, you can contact him on andy@bmfa.org. You can follow them at bmfa.org as well, or facebook.com/something, I imagine.
I think
is
it's BMFA official is the page.
There we go. Yeah, Jack, do you want to sign us off?
Yep, thank you. You've been listening to a wonderful episode of Let's Drain It Out. It was a good episode because Frank ran it. Today's useful and insightful episode that I have slowly ruined into nonsense was brought to you by Andrew/Frank,
Bye.
who's got an alcohol problem, probably because we're such twats. We're joined by Andy RC, who's been in the BMFA for when he was about this big.
Andy or Dave could probably look it up.
He's only that big on my screen now.
Yeah.
He could probably look it up, but it's over maybe 24, 25 years perhaps.
That's longer than me.
well, there you go. Yeah.
You should have some gold stars given out to you.
I've got gold stars. It's called a B certificate, and I was a club instructor. I'd love to be an examiner though. But,
Can you make that happen? And me and Frank need our multi-rotor licenses as well.
Could we make that happen if we turned up to the Nationals?
I think you need to come up to Buckminster and things can happen.
You see, that's not too.
We should do that.
That's not too far from me. When are the dates?
I would suggest first weekend in August. We've got a fly-in at Buckminster, so anybody can come along. We'll have examiners, instructors on hand as well for guidance for anything.
That'd be we should do something about that, guys. I reckon. Yeah.
It's one I'm organising, so it'll be fairly laid back.
Are you sure you want me there?
We have to have somebody to make the rest of us look good.
Well, Jack, you were fantastic on on the microphone at Mini Air Show. You didn't.
All three announcements.
Yeah. It was great though.
We are joined by Andy from the BMFA.
Nice to see you all again.
We're joined by Dave, also from the BMFA.
Thanks for listening.
And I've been Jack, Bright to Life Fly, and it's an honour to have you guys here. And thank you for protecting what we love and what I appreciate, and really does help my mental health on a personal note. So, and if you love this shit show, don't forget we have got a Patreon. It stops Frank from murdering me, because then it means that he has money for an editor and holidays away from me. Thank you.
Do you know what we haven't done? We haven't done shout outs because Tony's not here. He likes to do shout outs. So
yep. Do you want to read some names?
Yeah, so we've got Drone Racer, we've got
X-Jet first. Royalty first.
We've got NJ Tech.
Or Sexy Royalty.
Curry Kitten.
It's amazing to see
the Tone Star One.
The Tone Star One, who should be here. Tony, you missed one of the best shows.
Yeah,
all lurking.
Spider, Jay Jones, Richard Warwick, Drone Racer, Ladders,
Bloods, Lurgy,
Aries, Bloods,
Tom Robinson,
Andrew Haku. He's a Patreon. All the Patreons. Lurgy. Read the blue ones out because they're really good.
Mr. Fruity Cakes,
MC Creation, Don Robinson.
Yeah, mention
him. Yeah, everyone. Thank you.
Fraser. Yeah. It's just there's so many people in the chat. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching this one.
Yep.
Awesome.
Peak FPV. Thank you and good night.
Right emails. Bye.
Right emails.